City in my bed, still in my pajamas, and I just took my black ass bonnet off. So,
There you
um,
go.
how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
It's been busy, so it's been good.
Mm-hmm.
Life is
That's
good.
good. I
Um,
noticed your conversation. I thought it was really interesting. There's a lot of things that's been going online, but that's a whole other podcast. But
mhm.
here's, I think this is the question that I've been asking. And so for those of you who love me and hate me on here, um, you know what I do. I teach anti-racism, mostly specifically for Pilates.
Mhm.
I did sort of jump into it last year only because I've been speaking out for quite some time, and it was something that I felt was I was called to do.
Yes.
Um, and
And
so my
and you've
lived
been speaking to it,
experience.
and sorry, I was gonna say you've been
Mhm.
speaking to it like generally to the fitness industry, not even specifically to the fitness industry itself, too, no?
Say that again. I didn't
Like
understand what you're
just
saying.
like generally to like more than just supplies, but like to the fitness industry.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. But, because I'm in the Pilates industry, then, that's kind of like where most of my audience has been. That's where I've been driving most of my webinars to. But, I mean, that hasn't been my full on experience in fitness because I'm also a competitive power lifter.
Mhm.
And, I have some amazing trainer friends I've known for years and things like that. And I've always been in some aspect of fitness. So Pilates is just a very small portion of the fitness industry, but the
Yes.
entire fitness industry um, needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Um,
So
so
your question.
yeah, so here's the thing. My question is this. So your topic is anti-racism. What does it mean to do the work? So my question to all of you is, why aren't you doing the work now? Because since June of last year, when I put out my workshops, when friends of mine like Monique Melton, even Chrissy King,
Mhm.
and many other friends who do this work put out our work, we were inundated with your DMs, with your requests to interview us,
Mhm.
to write articles for you, to show up at your
Virtual
conferences and all kinds of
conferences and
things
stuff.
like that.
Right.
Um, but quickly, with by July, those things slid down, and
Yes.
we're here, right? A year and some change later, and it's literally like. And these are friends of mine who have huge followings. I have a fairly huge following, but not near as some of my others. But the the I don't even want to use participation, but I'm going to use it. The participation level has dropped
It's dropped off.
significantly.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and now that we're seeing a few more black faces in spaces, it's felt that the work has been done
Mhm.
when you haven't really even started. Even going to my workshop or even attending something that Misty has is not, that's not even close. It is a
Yes.
lifetime situation. It's a
Yes.
lifetime work. And I also want to make it plain to folks that, you know, it's not the space that I create, the webinars that I do. These are not spaces for me to be friends with you
Mhm.
because racism is not a friendly thing. If it was, we wouldn't be here or we wouldn't really be talking about it.
Yes.
So I'm
We're
not
Doris
here to be,
saying
yeah,
what's it? Yeah,
lifelong work and
lifelong
learning.
work.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
lifelong work and lifelong learning. But also, I'll add this lifelong work and lifelong learning and action. Because
Mhm.
why go to college and get a degree and not use your degree?
Right. Exactly.
So that's
So
literally
Sonia,
what happened.
so
You're
the
going to ask a
question then,
question?
yeah. So the question that comes off of that is, how do we like what qualifies as doing the work? So if someone took
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy King's course or took your course 6 months ago and then they tick the box and they move on with their life, that's not really doing the work, even if they paid for your registration and paid for your course and haven't done anything with
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Action is key, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just give people an example, like, and I asked, Justice Rowe when he was on, like, what does doing the work look like? And he gave me some really good answers. So I want to hear from your perspective, beyond just signing up for a course, what does doing the work
Mm-hmm.
look like? Continually
Um,
doing the work look like?
yeah, yeah. I think it's a lot of things. Even some of the, um, I'll tell you what it's not real quick. It's not,
The what
yeah,
is not piece is like, is that's the easy
yeah.
part, right?
And then
Like,
I'll tell
okay,
you what I think it looks like. What it's not is, and Misty actually sort of, thank you, Misty, I hate you.
yeah,
Um,
it's still your
it's not
thunder,
scholarships
right?
without actually working on your individual self.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you know what? That actually is your answer, is working on your individual self. So you know how we all go, I know, Misty, I can't stand you. And so so when you go to therapy,
Yes,
you go there because something traumatic, something has changed your life to the point that it has caused harm to you, and
mm-hmm.
many, many times it has caused harm to other people. You may
Yes,
be the perpetrator or not, or the
mm-hmm.
victim, right? So this is something, white supremacy, racism, that has harmed a group of people. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
speak specifically from a Black perspective because I'm not anything else. A Black cisgender straight woman. Um, so when you go into therapy, right, you talk about your story, your lived experiences and stuff like that. And
Yes,
this is what doing the work is really about. It's reading my friend, um, uh, Rachel Ricketts' book.
mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's
um
called Do Better,
do better, yeah. I was thinking white fragility,
and
but yeah.
looking within yourself and saying, what have I actually done some of these things?
Mm.
Have I actually said the N word? Have I sang it?
Hmm.
The next time I hear that song, am I going to sing it? Because I'm
Mm.
like, well, it's a free, it's a free country wherever you are. It's a free country. No, because I know that that word is derogatory to Black people. Am I going to go out on Halloween and dress up like an indigenous person because I think it's real cool?
Mm.
No, because I know that that will hurt indigenous people. So it's rethinking how you used to think,
So it's doing
right?
the work from the inside out. Is that,
That's
would you say?
yes, that's where it starts. So
Yes,
just like Pilates, don't we describe it as like work from the inside out, right?
exactly. That's I think that's what
Yeah.
lends to us having such a voice in the platform, because we understand the
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure of it, right?
Mm-hmm. And there's a question, if you don't mind me asking it
Sure.
here.
Yeah, I'm in
I
here.
mean,
Yeah.
a question, answering it. Um, so, Amit, I'm not sure how
Amit?
to pronounce your name. I apologize. So you said, do we want to give scholarships and work on ourselves at the same time? No, you don't. Because here's the thing. So you're going to give me, a Black person, a scholarship, um, but you haven't really actually done any of your own internal work to figure out what your biases are against me as a Black person,
Mm.
why you don't feel comfortable being around me as a Black person, why you cross my boundaries and touch my beautiful curly hair, why you ask me why I have freckles or I'm as lighter than my brothers.
Yeah.
You haven't done that work. So if you're going to give me a scholarship, I got to walk into that space where you're literally going to do the same thing that you were doing before you gave a scholarship to any Black person, et cetera, who's not white that walks into your studio.
Nice.
So that's
So
why I
okay.
said I don't like I don't like the scholarship thing
And I think
because
that
there's
that's
no inner work that has been done. It's just
yes,
it's more inner guilt,
right. Yeah,
you know.
exactly. I'm not. I don't want to take your whole morning here, and there are some other people I want to go around. Or if you want to bring them on as well. If anyone wants to join, like Martin Phills just joined here, Misty, Meryl's in Germany, so
Oh, Meryl. Hey, Meryl. I
I'd
haven't seen
love,
her in like a year or two.
yeah, Meryl, if you want to
Hmm.
come, I'd love to have you join us too. There's so many perspectives on this too, and the other piece to it. Now, Martin's in Toronto, Meryl's in Germany. Like, I mean, there's Black in
Hmm.
America, but then there's a myriad of different life experiences that come being in different parts of the world when it comes to these things. And a lot of it is similar, but then there's also some nuances that are different. So I'd love
Hmm.
to get other perspectives as well. Um, but to your last point there, there's something to be said for work that's performative. That if I
Hmm.
tick the box for my own guilt, that still
Hmm.
doesn't count as doing the work.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I could say that there was a lot of people who were performative because many people that I came into contact in the Pilates industry, I haven't heard or seen y'all since last year, and I haven't seen anything. And I watch these platforms. I haven't
Meryl's
seen
coming
y'all
on
do
here.
anything, and doing stuff behind the scenes don't work. It's
Huh.
because racism is not behind the scenes, folks.
Right.
So your work cannot be behind the scenes.
There's Meryl.
Hi, Meryl. I haven't seen you like
Hey,
ever. Look at you looking
doing?
amazing, all the way from G
Berlin.
Town.
Berlin.
Good to see you, Sonia. Good to see you,
Good
Martin.
to see you.
So yeah, so Meryl, you were just saying your last point there, and just on what Sonja's saying right now too, it's just about even scholarships and things that are performative, and the work being from the inside that we need to do. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, I completely agree. And this issue of the dismantling white fragility is something that is very, very challenging and is constantly happening, at least in my experience here. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's great. You can give someone a scholarship. But if you're not dealing with your white fragility, you're just going to perpetuate what's been going on, like Sonia was saying.
Right.
And that's a very, very important
Piece.
issue,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
I sorry, go ahead.
No, that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Because I agree with that. And how do we I white fragility is so funny in that it's even that is a fragile topic to talk about, because if you want
Mhm.
people to grow, if we want people to be uncomfortable so that so that they're thinking, okay, whoa, I need to do something.
Mhm.
I don't want to be coddling someone's fragile ego, but I do
Mhm.
want them to be inspired to change as opposed to be discouraged and sit where they are.
Right.
White
You know what I'm
people
saying?
aren't fragile. They're
I
not
didn't say black.
fragile
No,
by
I
any
didn't say.
means.
I didn't say
They,
black people are
oh,
fragile. No,
no,
that's
I
not what I'm
didn't
saying.
say, I was saying that white people are not fragile.
No,
And
yeah,
we
yeah,
shouldn't treat white people as fragile.
right.
I think I don't like that term
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Yes.
I did used to use it. I don't like that term anymore
Yeah.
because
Okay,
it's
interesting.
not true because white people are not fragile.
True.
Manipulative, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Narcissistic, yes, but those are the results of benefiting and living in white supremacy. That's what comes with
Mm.
it. And white supremacy, and just so you guys won't think that, well, Tanya just hates white people or whatever. Listen, white supremacy don't like you either. It does not like you because y'all spend time stepping over each other all the time. I mean, case in point, the former, whatever his name is, president, I mean, he literally threw his vice president underneath the bus. That's white supremacy right there. So not only is it like you, white people, having an issue with folks that are not white, but you even have an issue with your own self. It tells you that you don't even love yourself. White supremacy doesn't want you to love yourself, and you damn sure don't want you to love anybody else. So why would you want to be a part of that? And that's why That's why you should do the work. That's why you should look within yourself real deep, real deep, and figure out, like, you know what? This stuff is fucked up. That's what you get for having me on here, a curse. But I mean, it really is. Not only is it overly fucked up for Black people, but it's fucked up for you too. And your kids got to grow up in this. And so is that fair to you? Absolutely not. Should you
I
want to
mean,
get healed? You should want to get healed from this stuff. But honey, it is not going to be friendly. It's not going to be nice, and it's not going to be pretty.
right. So
And that's real talk.
that's real talk, and that's what I was saying. Like, I mean, and that's why I want to just practically put this on. What does it mean to do the
Mhm.
work, right? Like, I mean, because it's one
Mhm.
thing to say it, it's another thing to be performative, it's one thing to do
Mhm.
it from the inside out. So, I mean, when we just continue to just unpack this in different ways, um, I can now, okay, I decided to do the work. I'm going to sign up for a course.
Mhm.
What course should I sign up for? What should I be looking for in a
Mhm.
quality course? What should I look for in, like, you know what I mean? Like, all these
Mhm.
catchphrases. And even as like Meryl and you, Sonja, are talking right now, I don't like using the word white fragility anymore because they're not fragile. So whatever the catchphrase was
Mhm.
6 months ago isn't even the catchphrase. I can barely keep
Mhm.
up with the terminology, and then I'm supposed to
Yeah.
work on myself from the inside out. How is that
Yeah.
fair for people who actually want to do the work and don't know where to
Mhm.
start? We're
But you
setting
know,
people up,
things
like, do
things
we set people up
change.
for things change? So
Yeah,
if
and
I'm
that's
trying
fine,
to
and you
just catch
change with it.
up, like
Mhm.
someone saying, if we're in process, how does this process work?
Mhm.
I'm trying to help people to navigate this so
Yeah.
that we can get to this place of having a community. So I
Mhm.
want to bring on Martin Phills too. Like, he's another
Mhm.
request
I
coming in
also
here.
think that
Go for it.
you've made it we're it's not as complex as y'all think. Because
Okay.
if you had a problem with if you have a problem with alcohol or whatever, you would know what to do, right? I would
Right.
think. Or you would say, you know, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to solve this problem? So, and I mean, this is, you know, there's white supremacy and racism is completely, like, you cannot compare it.
Mhm.
But, um, you know, to sort of run to me for answers about something that really is a lot more simple than you think. And maybe you run to me in a webinar for guidance and
Mhm.
go, you know,
That's,
but
yeah.
it's really not as complex as you make it if you really think about it and you really do the deep inner work. But I'm going to jump off of here. Hi, Martin,
Hey,
Phills,
hey,
Martin, I see
Sonja.
you. I'm going to jump off of here so y'all can continue the conversation. But
Yes.
I've raised a lot of hell already, so I need to go
No,
eat.
this is, I really
But
appreciate
I
you
had to
bringing this
come
in.
on
This,
and say
yeah,
something on
Love
here.
you, Sonia.
So
yes, I appreciate it.
anyway,
We need
love
that
all y'all that
voice.
hate me and love me. All right. See you
Love you
later.
too,
Thank you,
Sonia. Take
Martin.
care.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
I was just going to
Ru-
mention the thing that's going on here in Berlin, in Germany, a lot are
mhm.
critical whiteness workshops.
Okay.
And I'm working on a
Do
project right
tell. See, Mr. Phil's eyes just lit up when you said that.
now.
Let's discuss. I've never heard that
So
phrase before.
I'm
I
So,
love it.
working on an artistic project right now where the theme is Black Lives Matter and racism.
okay.
And for the participants, Black and white POC who want to participate, they're required. We took an empowerment workshop, and the white
Hmm.
people took a critical whiteness workshop.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Um,
Interesting.
and we,
People in the comment section, if you've heard of a critical whiteness workshop, show of hands. I don't know if any hands will pop up, but I'm curious. And actually, I'm going to bring Misty on too. I see her request to join as well while you're
I
chatting
highly
around.
recommend it. I highly recommend it.
Interesting. So, what's the content of that course? Like, what kind of things will they touch on?
Well, they touch on what Sonia was discussing, uh,
Hey.
what we dis, uh, yeah. Now I'm trying to think of a different term instead of a white fragility.
Yeah. Well,
but
let's keep that term alive for today, so everyone knows what we're talking about before we just dash into the
but
wind.
it has a lot to do with that, and also
Mhm.
just deconstructing all of the 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 way people have grown up and just accepted their privilege, and
Yeah.
just making them aware of that is step one,
Yes.
which happens in this workshop. And I mean, I'm not allowed to go because but just listening to my colleagues talk about the impact it had on them, and these are people who are open and really allies and want to change, and they're constantly working on themselves ever since they've been taking this workshop, and previously.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But, yeah, so.
Hello to Misty, who just jumped in here.
Hi, Misty.
Guys.
Hi,
Hello.
Misty.
Yeah.
Hi.
I love that. And those kind of courses. I think that's why I want to have these conversations, because you see words like evolving and learning and process that come out in our comments. I want it to be a space where people can understand what their start point is, instead of just feeling bad that they haven't done enough work and haven't done the work. They don't know what the work looks like, or are we in process? Are we moving with it? So that's a perfect example of it, Meryl, of what's happening in Germany.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean,
Misty.
that's an amazing thing. And the thing about Germany is that, you know, they screwed up. They know it. They haven't tried to whitewash the Holocaust. They are very much educating their youth, everyone, and we're still seeing a resurgence of this white populist narrative.
Yeah.
So think about what it is in the United States, where we don't want to talk about history as it happened. We want to continue to sanitize, and sanitize is actually a false, I mean, that's underrepresenting what is happening here. But I think that all of this ballyhoo is what gives people permission to say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to do any more work than, you know, I'm going to do a $49.95 workshop. It'll take me a half an hour on a Sunday afternoon. You know, with anything else that we don't understand, most of us anyway, at least those of us in the field that we're in, you know, we're going to explore it. If I want to understand how somebody's body moves when they have MS, as an example, I'm going to start studying MS and movement and all of these things related to what I'm interested in. But yet when it comes to this idea of race, it's okay, well, I listened to hip hop today, and then I also watched an episode of In Living Color from 1992. So I'm done now. That's the work that I've done.
Yes.
That's not doing the work. The work is ongoing, because we're still battling to have the stories told and to be seen, and not have the narrative overwhelmed with nonsense, bullshit, cognitive race theory, critical race theory arguments that are really just nothing but fluff to keep people distracted.
Yeah.
Yes. So when Sonja comes on and says, where were you a year ago? That's a valid argument. I think that's part of why I'm having this conversation right now, is because now that it's off trend, I still want us to be able to have a dialogue about it. I don't want it to just drop off because.
But Martin, is it really off trend? I don't think it's off trend at all. And you know, those of us who are living this day to day know full well that it isn't off trend. So let's push that assumption aside. Let's push that assumption aside. It's not off trend. You know, and you know, despite even media trying to push it off trend, it always bubbles to the surface, because, you know, when the work and healing has not been done, this is when we get the issues. This is when we get the shooting of black men and black women. This is when we get all of the trauma bubbling to the surface in one way, shape, or form. This is when we get the videos that come up of you know, a Karen, if you will, wrongfully accusing somebody of stealing something and chasing them up and down the street in hysterics, right? This is when those things all come up. It's not off topic, or it's not a past topic. It's pretty relevant, and it's still on today. So let's not go on that assumption. It's not.
But I think I get what Martin's saying when he says that it's off trend.
Mm.
Last year, it was hot. That's all anybody wanted to talk about. Whereas this year, you know, we can talk about a Karen video and we can laugh at it, air quotes, because it's not funny. It's more ironic. But, you know, whereas last year people were getting all up in arms about a Karen video, this year
There's
it's like, oh,
outrage.
there goes another Karen.
There's
So
awareness.
I would say that when, and I'm now talking for you, Martin, of course,
Go ahead.
I apologize, but I understand his perspective because it's still maybe on trend, but it's not as hot. It doesn't feel as critical. And so for those of us who wear this skin, as you all know, it gets frustrating to see it kind of dip in the ratings. You know, we've heard all kinds of other things be elevated over the conversations that we were having last year.
Okay.
Breonna Taylor still hasn't gotten justice. Where's the argument for that? You know, all
so here's the thing. But here's the thing about it being on trend. Then we get a lot of the performative nonsense. Okay, we get a lot of the people pretending or trying to thinking that they've ticked all the boxes and now I'm done. All right. I find that the work is best done when the temperature is taken down just a little bit. Right. It's still hot underneath some people's butts. Right. Or a lot of people's butts, but now we can get the job done of actually doing proper work, because when everything's incendiary, everybody's reactionary. And, you know, I hate to pronounce this from the great white north, but, you know, there's a reactionary sort of trend, and it's something that happens in the States a lot. I have to say that these pendulum swings are, you know, we complain about our pendulum swings in Canada, right? But the pendulum swings in the United States take the cake.
You don't even have a pendulum in Canada.
You don't even have a pendulum. It's broken. It's off to the other side. It's lying in fractured pieces. But, you know, let's look at the German experience, for example, because, you know, we've heard, you know, right here, right now, we've heard from other Germans, very famous Germans in Pilates as well, about what's going on in Germany as well. You know, Germany is an interesting situation. I think that having to pay reparations, do all of the stuff for the Holocaust has made a difference in the way they accept and learn that. I don't think necessarily that gives them any clean slate. And I see that, yes, you see the hand is marginal, but there's a little bit more openness. I don't think that we would have ever come up with what was the title of the course again, please? You said it was
critical whiteness.
Critical whiteness, yes. I don't think that would have ever arose on its own here.
No.
Precisely because of the German experience, right? So I think that makes a difference. I think that Germany can export that, right? At least, absolutely. You know, even for all of their flaws, that's something good that if you think that it could be exportable, well, then why not? Let's get that started. But that's part of the work. I just find that we get more done when, you know, you don't have the great divide and fingers pointing at each other, and instead you know, it's a little bit closer enough that you can start building the bridges and getting people to cross over onto the right side, right, the proper side of thinking. So that's me. That's my philosophy when it comes.
So, and to summarize what Misty was saying, like we're moved from a place of being outraged to having to being in a place of awareness. Right? So that stage of outrage where everyone's reacting has moved on to people being a bit more aware. A higher percentage of the population is now aware of the things that are happening. But then you hear stats like the number of people who ordered the White Fragility book or those books that never actually picked them up. You know what I mean? Like there's a reaction. Let me just go and I'm gonna do the work by buying a book and never pick it up from the store. You know what I mean? Like you hear stats like that are coming out now where people reacted in outrage but never follow through to any authentic action.
Yeah.
I think that's
even here when we were offering this critical whiteness workshop to all of the people that work in this organization, only 5 people showed up out of 25. This whole I'm like one of the 3 Black people in this organization, and 5 showed up. So, you know, it's being offered, but people are just so nervous and so scared about what's going to happen if I go there. Yeah, but I don't feel racist. And yeah, but you have to go. Like, it needs to be a requirement. They have to go there if they're going to work here, you know?
Right.
But then that's something going against civil rights and personal rights. And Germans are very, very, you know, they love their personal rights and they don't want to have to get into that kind of,
Be mandated to do something.
Yes.
because of
Right.
whatever.
That's
Oh,
messy.
You know, it's kind of like the boogeyman, right? So you've heard the stories growing up. There's something under the bed, there's something in the closet, and you're afraid that when you open the closet, it's going to jump out and get you. I think a lot of people have some of these knee-jerk reactions where they order the book and they buy the t-shirt and then they never go pick it up or whatever, because at that moment, it wasn't about being performative. At that moment, it really was about passion because they got caught up into it. But then
Right.
when it came time to pull the trigger, they had the hands on the closet door and they're about to open it and they're like, but what if I find out something about me that does not suit my narrative, what I'm trying to be, and then they walk away from the closet. People are afraid that they are going to discover a piece of themselves that they don't know, that they don't understand, and that will make them bad. That's part of the problem with this discussion across the board, is that we have a binary discussion. You're good or you're bad. And when it comes to racism, you're racist or you're not racist, you know, and I get that in form and function, but I also understand why people who cannot handle that level of honesty would choose to run from it because they are living a dishonest life in the first place.
and that's why it's called white fragility.
That's where, and that's what I mean.
Where
It's
that
the
term
irony.
comes from.
I think the irony of the term fragility is perfect, because you're so busted up about learning something about yourself that actually, once you have the knowledge about it, you can act against or change. You're so busted up by it that you are afraid to open the door, but at the same time, you recognize the power and leverage that you possess, so you can turn that same level of fragility into a weapon as needed. That's the irony of the term fragility. And I actually think it's quite appropriate when we're talking about situations like this.
And you know, and that's a perfect setup for the term privilege, because I can look at all that you just said right there and choose to do nothing with it.
Exactly.
That is my privilege.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And I think, just to add on to the fears that Misty was talking about, it goes beyond the personal too, because in reality, you know, there are economic consequences to doing these changes that you know may be perceived to be negative for the people in charge. And that may also feed into some of their fear as well. Let's not you know, rule out money and things along those lines. Everything from state reparations, right, to job equity, to a lot of other things where they know that beyond their own personal growth, that they have benefited economically from status quo, right? That it meant that that someone who was BIPOC or black, let's deal with the black situation here, was ridden over at a work or job site because of the color of their skin. And they're afraid of that. They're afraid of the economic repercussions of now understanding and knowing that, and they choose not to. They understand, you know, and they'll try to be good people in their lives, et cetera, right, and not be racist, et cetera, but that underlying fear is there. We have this in Canada too, with reparations with our Indigenous people as well. And there's going to be a huge financial cost. All right? Don't even get me started in the Catholic Church in Canada. I'm Catholic. Okay? Don't even get me started with the Catholic Church in Canada and the amount of running around and absolute denial, and then money that was supposed to go towards reparations is going to continuing to put roofs over churches and repair leaky roofs and everything else rather than doing the actual reparations, okay?
Yes,
So
right.
don't even get me started. It is deep-seated. When you have power and there are people knocking at your door, we have this even through English history. Let's start with Ollie Cromwell and taking down the king, and then they had to restore the king. When you have all of those things, English colonialism, Sonja was quite right to say, absolutely, that, that white supremacy was turned on its own people.
Yes.
Okay. And then causes all of these things where people want to climb over each other, stratification of class, climbing over. There's no sense of equity. It's all about me, 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 me. And in the same way, okay, these people, when they're threatened by there's an economic consequence to this, and let's not put that elephant in the corner. It's a big elephant in the room. They are afraid of that. I don't care how much personal growth you have. To face that and understand those things really makes it a lot more difficult. Okay?
But
Doesn't mean that the work shouldn't be done, but it's going to be a major factor.
But to
Misty's
be
coming.
frank, and again, that is still the short-sighted piece of the argument, because
Yes. No, I agree with
JP
you
Morgan
there.
Chase and a few of the other big corporations in the United States have done studies. Racism leaves money on the table. I believe they said something like $478 billion. That's not right. It was more than that. Dollars are left on the table every year due to racism. And so if the finances of it were really the piece, then you would look at that and you would say, well, let me go find some more brown and black people to bring in because I can get their money too. But they're not doing that. A lot of people aren't doing that. It's not the money.
But it is to them personally. I would say, I don't disagree with you at all, but I would argue that on a personal space, when you're dealt with that, okay, it becomes a crutch. It becomes an excuse for not doing. No, you're absolutely right. If there was an egalitarian society with everybody participating fully, oh, good grief, the economic engine would be off the scales in terms of that. $400 billion seems like kind of an understatement.
I don't think I had that number right.
You may have
it was
been
closer
underballing.
to $1 trillion.
Yeah. But if we had a fully participant economy with everybody participating with all of their skills and stuff, this would be a different ballgame.
Yeah.
Of
Okay,
course.
Misty, you're going to go back to the comment earlier?
Oh, yeah. So IPB Pilates said, the monster in the closet is me. Oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, that is it. When we look at it as a Pilates teacher, a business owner, how much of what we do with our clients is us projecting onto our clients versus them informing us? And how much of it is the dance? You see those teachers who are basically like turkey vultures over their clients, driving into them what we, the trainer, thinks they, the client, need to do, right?
Right.
If we're looking at it in terms of the monster being in the closet and knowing that the way that we are presenting ourselves is inauthentic, the way we're affecting our community is inauthentic, if we can just turn that mirror and say, oh shit, that's me. That's not what the possibilities are on the other side of the mirror, on the other side of the closet. But that's where people get hung up. This is something that I think we all need to be having a conversation with ourselves on every day. And then we get into situations where somebody is holding that mirror up. Maybe the mirror's got a little bit of a glaze or a fog over it. But we still need to be holding the mirror up for each other. And that's why you go and do the work and keep doing the work.
Yes.
So maybe that's why, maybe this is the social work side of me, the warm fuzzy side of me that wants to look at it from this perspective. There's people that we need to hype them up and cheer them on because we know that they can get this work done if they just press through to the other side. And there's other people that hear this and they're like, you know what? Shut this off. I'm going to go to work right now. Right? So there's some people who can internally motivate themselves, and there's people who need that external motivation to do that. They're going to hear this is going to challenge them, and they're going to want to do that work and discover that what that monster is in the closet of themselves, right? So that's why I keep bringing it back to this conversation. I'm glad that we're all here to have this, and I hope that for those of you who are watching that are challenged by this and not just shutting it down because you got 3 angry black people or 4 angry black people in the room.
We are not angry. We
I'm
are
not
enthusiastic.
Hey, see, you totally set us up for that. Totally set us up for that. Because that's just it, right? So we're all like, just full circle to what Justice Rose line at the beginning. Authentic, loving community. Are we moving towards being an authentic, loving community by looking at ourselves and looking at those uncomfortable areas and looking at those dark spaces and recognizing that they need some light too, and that we might not be as good as we think we are, and maybe we need to go back and look at other places in our life when we've gone through that process of self-discovery and soul crafting, and be at that place where now we can ask ourselves some hard questions. We can do that work, like Sonja was saying, from the inside out, instead of just doing something, ticking a box for some, $49.95 course or some corporate lunch hour free lunch, learn about diversity moment, right? Like, it's deeper than that, and it has to start from the inside.
100%, Martin. I get really kind of eye-rolly frustrated when I get memorandums from one of my places of work saying, well, here is this anti-racism course, and here is this course here, and here's that course there. And, it's exactly as you described. It's just ticking a box. And for some of these employees, they're not even having to pay for it. The department is paying for it. So really, they just have to show up. You don't know what they're taking away from this, and whether this is, and as far as I can tell, I'm not really seeing the translation into the workspace.
Right.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. So this has to do. I think one thing that I think that all of us will agree upon, and will have to be abundantly clear, that we are here to help. I think that that's important to say that, but we're not going to do it for free either. Okay. Yeah. No, we're not going to do it for free. So yeah, we're here. We're open. We're here to give you advice. Come to us for advice. Don't pay somebody who says that, oh, I've done the work. They're the same race as you. Oh, I've done the work, and I will glide you into anti-black racism because, we're dealing with that now. That's not the case. Turn around and ask that person, okay, so what work have you done? And if it's the $49.99 course, I think that you should put your tail behind your legs and run away from that provider as quickly as possible, okay?
Right.
So as Black people, yes, we're here to do the work, but it is blood, sweat, and tears on our side to help you. It isn't like, it isn't like something off our back. So if you're going to ask us to help, then pay us to help you. Absolutely. I think that's very, very reasonable.
Absolutely. So back in the day when I was working in big box gyms, and then someone joins and then you give them an orientation. The orientation is free. With that, I can show you what the machines do. But you're going to have to pay me to find out what machine works for you. So please reach out to us to understand this work and what course you need to take and where we can help you, what direction to point you in. But when it comes down to understanding how this work can work for you, that's where you have to invest. That's when you have to dive deep for your own work to get to that place. So, yes, I agree with all that you're saying. Thank you to everybody.
I gotta jump. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you, and so good to have this. I think this is a conversation we need to keep having.
No, this is my first time meeting as well, too. Wow. So very nice to meet you as well.
Germany, Toronto, the U.S., we're in the house. I'm so glad we could do this.
Yeah, let's keep it
Misty.
going, Martin, and what was her name?
Meryl.
I thought it was
Meryl.
4 M's. I mean, that's why the power is like power locked here.
So we got, I know you got to run, Misty, but we got a bonus track going on tomorrow as well, right?
Oh, do we?
Oh,
you mean tomorrow night? Yes.
Tomorrow night.
Yes. Oh, Martin Reed's joining me on Thought Flow tomorrow night. We're having a really good conversation. Hope you guys join us. And I got to go terrorize my little old ladies that I love. So bye, guys. But catch us on Thought Flow. Martin, you and I will talk soon.
Yes. All right. And we are over 11 with such an easy conversation. Meryl, thank you so much for jumping in.
Thanks
Mr.
again.
Phills and the T Dot, thank you as always for your wisdom. Man, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you having me on, Martin.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
Martin.
All right.
And good to
Thank you,
meet you, Meryl.
everyone.
To meet
All
you,
right.
Martin. Ciao.
Bye.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, everybody.